Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Wow, we got a great showing this morning. So,
Thanks for joining us.
yeah, thanks for going out and doing Racejoy Rocks this morning. We had a lot of participants. It was great to see everybody trying out the technology. James and Kevin are going to go and provide an overview of the back end of things and give you an overview of the usage and types of tools that you can use on your side to just kind of monitor and see what's going on with your race.
Great. Well, first of all, we're gonna have a few slides. Turn the camera off.
Okay. And if you have questions, feel free to enter them into the questions field, and we'll do our best to get to them. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me go to the next slide. Okay, so one of the things that you experienced if you had your sound on was that we encouraged participants to, have some engagement by taking photos. So that's something that you could do, especially for these race anywhere type of things. They want to feel connected, and it's a way to connect with them and feel like, okay, they are, experiencing your event in a different way. So these are some of the things. So we posted one just to kick things off with Blue, and that's James and I's dog. And this is a fake rock that's covering up some, I don't know what, on a yard thing. So we thought it was kind of funny. And then over on the left is showing
much better rocks.
That's a much better rock. And she posted that to our Racejoy's wall, and then we had some others which were great.
That was good.
Yeah, and so definitely the selfie is always such a good one because it's nice to see people, actual people. And I love the turtles because they do look like little rocks with heads. And then if you look over to the right, what's great about these ladies is that they had their bibs. So with RunSignup, you can send those custom bibs that they can print out and wear, which is nice for these virtual events, especially those kind of on-site virtual events, because then the local people see each other with the bibs and they cheer each other on. So it's just a nice thing that RunSignup has to offer with that. And then I just wanted to share that this is now available to you to share with other events. And also we have a redo. So we're going to see who can beat the Racejoy record. And if anybody beats it, we will be communicating that on a monthly basis. So we are going to go through our top finishers, not now, because, and James will go through some of the reasons why, but we'll figure that out. And then we will, provide an announcement.
So let's just do a little replay here. And so what you're seeing here is actually, again, you can full screen the monitoring system. I'll show you how to get into that in a minute, but I did a video recording this morning just for a little bit. You can full screen this out and have it on a display monitor or just, kind of off to the side. So I'll just talk through a few things here on the monitoring. So again, you can kind of, for Race Anywhere, it's very different than a traditional race. In a traditional race, the default view is going to be of your map, and you're going to have all the active runners on your map, and that's our default monitoring. For Race Anywhere, you really need to kind of search and find who you want to look for. So I just searched for Racejoy here. So again, it's going to be people all over the world, all over the country, and so you kind of zoom in. In this case, I did a replay. The previous screen showed all the different passings and the different times that they went through those different milestones along the course. And then you can actually export this replay, and you can get very precise GPX data, and you can put that into Google Earth or some tool like that and actually look at the distance that the number of meters that they actually traveled and all. So that's a nice verification tool that we have. So we're going to kind of zoom out here and just kind of look up the Northeast. So again, it was early morning. Don't see too much up in the West yet, but a lot of good activity going on this morning in the Northeast. And let's go and maybe look around the Richmond area here and let's see what was happening there. Oh, look, we've got a couple of RunSignup people, so let's see how they're doing. So we're going to go ahead and bring up Brian. So he's almost getting there. He's a couple miles in. And then Matt was already finished, so Matt beat Brian this morning. That's kind of fun. So again, I kind of replay the routes to see they definitely didn't walk together. They went different ways, so that's kind of fun to see what they were doing, even though it looked like they were starting from the office. So we can actually send a message directly to Brian. So again, this is a way to engage, even if you're sitting as a timer or a race director, or someone to, you know, if you're sitting there just kind of checking out your virtual event on a Saturday, you can definitely just, you know, reach out to a few people and send them a very personalized message. This idea of personalizing the message is a feature that we're working on right now, and you'll be able to do that pretty soon, where it'll actually have their name in the message, and that'll be a feature. So please, you know, subscribe to our newsletter, to our blogs, and you'll be aware of these new features as they come out. But you know, we're just going to kind of send some messages here. So Matt Sinclair is always finding all of our typos, and so I decided to send him a typo, and maybe he would kind of get a laugh, and so that was a little moment there. An inside joke with Matt finding all of our typos in the system. So again, you know, you can do a lot with the monitoring just to kind of dive in and look at data and the replay and the export, and that's kind of main view there. So as we kind of scroll out again, I just kind of brought everybody into the view real quick here. Let's see if we can find anybody else fun to
One nice thing is that you could take a picture of this and post on your Facebook to show you have runners all over the country or in your area.
Yeah. Look at this. This is Johanna.
Johanna.
She went out this morning, so definitely had all of her good data there, and so
fantastic.
yeah, she was doing good there. So we'll send Johanna a little special message for her, and send her a couple this morning. So again, this is just kind of showing the send a message. In a more traditional race, you can use send a message to send it out to everybody that's on course. So if you have a very specific message you need to send to everybody that's running that full marathon, maybe a water situation is going on, we have that capability under the course actions. You can just send out a blast to everybody. If you're using this to track your staff or your volunteers also, you can actually send specific messages to those staff people that you're tracking all from within the view here. So we'll just say thank you to Johanna for all that she does. So that's just kind of a real quick recording that we did this morning, just to see, you know, how things looked this morning as we were doing this virtual together. If we scroll out and kind of look out west and see if we have any early birds waking up this morning. Good. Midwest is waking up really nice. We got some people in Kansas. That's cool. And then all the way out west, look at this.
So the ones in grays are that they pinged before, but they aren't active right now.
So that was actually our simulator. So our simulator is constantly working. It was at Apple, and we were getting a blue ping from our simulator. Great. So we're going to close that. And then again, just kind of looking at the app first, I want to talk through, well, let me finish the back end, and then we'll come back to the front end. Okay. So again, under RaceJoy, this is your go-to area from an operations point of view. We can look at the usage to see what our numbers were this morning. So we had a, you know, a pretty good ratio there. At least we had some good spectators also. We would expect on a demo event like this that would be very heavy for the participants. And that's what we expect to see.
Typically, you have about 2 spectators to each participant, depending on the type of course. So.
Definitely some cheers were going on. That's good to see. Okay.
Yeah, and if you look at the progress alerts, so that's the number of alerts that went out, the 1,200. And I just wanted to point out the homepage visits, close to 5,000. And that's that front page in the app, and that's where your banner ad is showing. So if you have a sponsor, you know, that's something you could communicate to your sponsors. That is how many views, potential views that they had. It depends on where you put their ad in the queue of things. So you can move that around when they show up. Like if they show up the first, you tend to like to have your first banner ad be your brand, you know, kind of branding your race. And registration is obviously up until it starts, you know, it's nice to have that as one of your top ones too, it's registration.
And again, you can give specific this is when they actually click on the link and actually navigate to the sponsor. So you can give those counts out to the sponsors. Okay, so as we move into the monitoring area, again, this is where you would access, as I showed in the video, your monitoring. And again, with Race Anywhere, there isn't a course map. The default view normally would be the map if you're offering a standard or hybrid event. And then your active would show everybody that's active on the course at the time. But here, again, we don't, I'm still tracked, got my blue ping there, but you know, so we still see some pings from some different people going on right now. Okay, so as we move into some of the questions that happened this morning.
Did you want to share the progress board from here?
Oh yeah, that's good. So yeah, this is definitely
under course actions.
I don't know. Just a second. I'm not set up right.
So if you look at the top part of the screen, you'll see this is where you can get to usage, news alerts. A lot of times events will do a full screen and then project that on site if you're on an on-site, have a big type of display. And then the course actions over to the left is where you would kind of dial into different things on viewing things like route replay and things like that. And then we'll show you how to get to it. And then the progress board, a lot of people are interested in that, knowing then that's kind of your leaderboard that's continually changing.
Yeah, and this updates every 2 minutes. And again, this is probably much more important in an actual race when everybody's doing the same course at the same time. This will constantly be updating and every 2 minutes and kind of showing your data based on that. And the reason why Shelley's in the front right now is because she completed the race ahead of everybody. So again,
yes.
In the virtual space, it's kind of going to be a little wonky. Again, this is much more important in a traditional race. Okay, so I really wanted to kind of dive into the results a little bit more and talk about that. We saw some things. So again, remember what we're doing here, and this gets into the back end a little bit, is we're having what we call user submission of results. So this is not results coming from a scoring system, it's coming from an actual user submission. One way that user submission happens is through RaceJoy, and that's done automatically based upon a bib identifier and the completion of the distance. So those are the kind of two main points I want to make sure we're clear on. There has to be a bib, and it has to match up to a registration, and we have to have completed the distance. And so we're going to look at some use cases here this morning where we might see that didn't happen and why we didn't get a result. The other variable on user submission results is whether or not we're going to set up that those need to be approved or not. And so for this demo, we decided not to have race approval on. So let's look at that setting. And so some of the side effects of that are—
It's under RaceJoy Tools Enhanced Virtual Race.
Yeah. Is that, if we don't have the setting on for require approval, then, pretty much you're saying your users and whatever data they submit within, certain things will be accepted. And so, we decided, again, we're just trying to make this, since somebody didn't have to go and look at the data and stuff. And, you can use the monitoring system to actually go and verify that they ran, and did something. But again, there's definitely an overhead there in terms of approvals, and somebody would have to be managing this and coming in and constantly checking and looking at the data and deciding that's a valid result and so forth. And so there's a decision there as a race or a timer. If you want to turn that on, then you would need to manage that and manage it in somewhat of a timely manner so that users aren't giving a lot of support emails and asking where's their result. So,
yeah, and you could do something that maybe have your certified timer say provide that service that they're going to review results, and then you just tell your your participants re-review and post results daily updates by 5 o'clock or something like that. But then obviously whoever's doing that would need to be compensated for that time. So you just need to, is it worth the monetary investment in that?
And I know that I've seen some places where you can kind of customize how your results are shown, and maybe some of that page gets customized for some messaging.
But you could also adjust things on the back end, so that doesn't stop you from adjusting things, even if you don't do the approval. So.
But today we wanted to really experience out of the box user submission. What happens when you don't have approval, and what are the different things that you'll see just out of the box, and that was a good experience for us to see that today. So let's take a look at a few of those use cases. So one of the first ones I want to kind of highlight, which I thought was really good, thank you, Matt, for doing that, is so Matt decided that he wanted to run with a pseudonym, and he wanted to run as Matt RunSignup. But his registration on the actual race was Matt Sinclair. And so we see that bib 120 is actually duplicated in our presentation. Now, if you go out to RunSignup and you look at the data, you're going to find only one, Matt Sinclair. Sorry, I was actually.
Yeah, that's bib number. It's 10th place.
So you're only going to find one true result. So the question, again, maybe this could be done different ways, but right now the way it works out of the box with Race Anywhere is that you know, because he ran with a pseudonym, we show his pseudonym result, you know, that way, in case we couldn't, you know, match up something, you know,
It's just shown in duplicate, it doesn't affect
it's
others.
not the actual duplication of result, it's just that
Yeah.
here's a pseudonym, and then here's the other, and we just kind of show them side by side. And, you know, maybe we'll think about doing this maybe a little differently in future release, but just this is how it works today. Another example is Kenneth here. Two different names didn't quite match up. Could have been also a mismatch on date of birth. And so again, we're going to get that kind of thing. So as we said in the pre-warm-up session that we talked about, you know, this screen kind of lets you race under pseudonym if you don't want to be tracked or have people be able to look you up with your name. You can just race as whatever you want. But if you want to do results, then really this is where the date of birth and kind of the name matching happens. So we don't tie to registration for people to be able to set up and have phone tracking. It's a decision of results and results only when the registration data gets matched up. If they put in the same name and the date of birth, then we'll match up. If they don't, we won't, not a problem. Everybody's happy. I got the race under a pseudonym. I can still see my result tied to my bib number when I actually get done. So when it comes to the actual bib submission, that's when the bib is very important. So this kind of leads us to another very interesting use case. Again, we're looking at user submission of results. We're not looking at, you know, approval, and we're not looking at scoring. And because of that, users can do things. And so, you know, if somebody were to race with the wrong bib number, then, you know, we can get some weird things happening. So let's talk about that. So we actually had that happen today. It's kind of fun to see. So we'll search for this. I don't know, what was it?
Yeah, thanks, Gail, if you're on the call, for giving this example for us.
Yeah. So we actually had two people race with the same identifier. Now, what happens in that situation? Well, if Neil had actually completed the full distance, which he didn't, again,
he almost did.
Yeah, then we would have had a result for Neil. And then when Gail did it later, which we heard that she was going out later, her result actually would overwrite Neil's. It's because they ran with the same number. Now, again, all this can be fixed on the back end by the race and the timer. They can get those support emails and kind of adjust this. I don't think this is happening very often, but it could happen, and this is a good example of seeing what's happening here. So in this particular case, if we were to go out and look for Neil, let's go out there, and this kind of highlights, again, how important the monitoring system is and kind of pulling all this data together for you so you can get a really good picture of what's happening. When you get those support emails and you need to go and, you know, somebody's saying, hey, I didn't get a result, you know, what's going on with your system, you can kind of dive into that. So let's take a look at Neil here. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do a replay on Neil. So first of all, we can kind of look at this and we can see, according to our software, we got distance-wise, we got up to 2.5, and then it looks like he hit the red button and just said, I'm done. I don't want to go any further. We can also replay and export that path, and we could actually measure that, and we could see that, you know, basically went a couple, 2.5 miles sort of thing. So again, this is another way you could verify to see what happens. The reason why we want to highlight this is we will not submit a result unless they get to the way the current version of the software is working right now. We do allow somebody to hit the red finish and finish as long as they've gotten all the way to the last milestone before we're done. So in this particular distance, if he had gotten at least 3 miles and then hit the red button, then we would have gone ahead and submitted a result. Again, that's a decision we've been making right now. It's a little fluid. You know, so again, if it's a 13.1, if they got at least all 13 miles past and they hit the red finish, they don't need to hit that red button. Again, if you complete the entire distance, it will automatically shut down and it will automatically submit. But we do give the user a button to hit when they're done and saying they're done. So right now, the current software says if you hit that red button and you say you're done, if you've done at least all of the milestones up to the last one, then we'll go ahead and submit a result. So just wanted to kind of highlight a few of those. Some other things to just kind of highlight again as you look at your data afterwards is the buzz is the place to go. So if you want to review any cheers that came to you or were sent to you, you would go to the cheers area. Again, this is our simulator, so I don't have anything that was sent to me in the simulator, but anything that I had sent would show here, and then anything that came in. This gives you a way to review everything that was sent to you. If you didn't hear it quite, somebody did a text to cheer and said something kind of funny that you want to kind of review, you can replay those text to cheers or those sound clips and see that message in this area. And then in terms of results, you go here also for your progress alerts, and you can see all your data here, your splits and so forth. This is another area that we're working on right now to actually bring the split data into this. We'll have that very soon. So right now we're just showing the average pace, but we're going to actually show within each one the split pace too in there. And then another request that we've had a lot in this area is right at this point, just to be able to export these points, and also that same export that we can do here to send the GPX data out. That's a really nice feature that we'd like to get added pretty soon here, and that is to export your splits with your GPX data. Okay, so Kevin, why don't you jump in at this point? You've been kind of monitoring the questions, and is there anything that's highlighting that you want to kind of bring up?
Just we got a lot of like specific questions, like in terms of their specific experience. Let's see. So we got one here. My friend who was sending me cheer said my dot wasn't moving during my run. She got updates in my progress, but the dot stayed put. Why is that?
Yeah, so any questions around the dots not moving and stuff like that, those are best to just send in to support@racejoy.com. We can go, make sure you tell us who it is that you're tracking, the name, and then we can go look at the monitoring and look at the data and see what's going on. Again, if for some reason someone's phone didn't track the entire distance or something was going on, then we're dealing with something with that particular phone. It's not a perfect science when it comes to everybody's phone and what's going on with their GPS, what's going on with their GPS and their particular model phone and so forth. But, overall, we have very high success rates, but, it's always going to be maybe something going on with a particular phone.
So typically if we see the tracking stop, then typically it's maybe they had Wi-Fi on, or they have location services is not set to always on, or maybe they just had some kind of odd thing with their phone. But typically it's those two top things that, so if they're tracking for a little bit and then it disengages, then typically they have location services just like while using.
But while using is what it's supposed to be.
While using is what it's supposed to be, but the other, whatever.
There's new options now on Apple. You can say one time usage, and these kinds of things could cause things not to work correct. And
then sometimes they'll pop up and say, do you want to continue to use their tracking? And and some people may push no and stuff. So so typically those are what we find are the issues that unfortunately we can't override those things for them. Oh, go ahead.
Jim just had a question. Looks like a lot of people are listed in results twice.
So I had just talked quite a bit. So hopefully he heard that part. This session has been recorded, and I spent quite a bit of time talking about that. So
it's okay. So just to reiterate that the reason why you'd see yourself twice is if the profile you created in the RaceJoy app did not match exactly to what you registered at. But you would see that you'd still be at that same placement. So if you're like Matt was at he placed 10, and on both records he was 10th place. So it doesn't affect anything. It just shows twice. So it's just that and we may be looking at adjusting that, but right now there may be scenarios that someone accidentally entered in the wrong bib number, and we want to be able to track that and be able to resolve that. So right now it's kind of, that's how we're handling.
Yeah. So we went through the scenario of pseudonyms, Matt RunSignup, and we also did Kenneth. And then we also showed this situation where someone was using the same bib, and why we want to show those results twice.
And so you can't control who's tracking you at this time. We've talked about that, But that's where we've decided if someone is concerned about people tracking them, they could just use a pseudonym, or they can change their entire profile. So.
Or just not use it.
But we've talked about showing, like, there's a ton of features we'd love to add, but there's only so much we can do. So, one of the things we'd love to show is that, these are all the people that are tracking you and how many people are tracking you. So there's all these great things we'd love to do, but we just have to prioritize and do what's the most. We tend to focus on the technology, the more deeper technology first, and then kind of the top layer type of stuff.
Yeah, I appreciate Karen. Thank you for that. Yeah, it's fun to do the bike, and that's why your time was great. So thank you for sharing that, Karen.
Yeah, so Karen was one of our top finishers, and so
So as we discussed, having approval, you would be able to see that in the route replay and kind of look at the data. But we decided to just leave this open, and it's all user submission, and it's all good.
Yeah, and we expect it. So this is a demo. So we expect people's behavior is going to be a little bit different and not as precise as someone that's doing, an official race. So.
Or doing a true run walk.
Yeah.
Can you just, if someone entered in bib pending at the start, can you just quickly show them how to enter in the bib number before they run or like after the fact?
Yeah, so there's two ways to get to it.
So let me just back up on that. Okay. So again, it's very important to know that the bib is only if you want to actually have a result posted. So that's the first statement. The second statement is we prompt them at different times to do that. So during the wizard, if the event is set up for virtual, when they get to the screen, normally this would not be selected. They would be selecting something that kind of tells them, hey, we're in a virtual situation for this particular event. This is a setting that we understand, which is telling them it's really required, kind of need that. But if they don't have it yet, because they haven't gotten your message or your email and so forth, your notification, what happens in our software, let me go out and actually change it. Sorry. Is they will get prompted a lot.
They get prompted a lot, so a lot of it you don't have to worry about. They'll be prompted.
Yeah, so it's not a problem. They get set up on their phone, and then later, anytime they come in to the screen, they'll kind of keep telling them, hey, you really need to update your bib for results. And they can say, no, not now. I don't want to deal with that. And then, we don't bother them too many times, but like every time they come in, and like every 10 minutes, we kind of give them a little warning. So that's one way that we kind of tell them. The other way is that they go ahead and complete the distance, or they actually do the activity. They've gone through the entire activity. At the time that we go at the end and we detect that we don't have a bib, we will prompt them. And this is after they finish. And we ask them, give us the bib now. And if they do, then we will submit a result. So there's another layer of trying to get that bib number. So it may come to them like later and they just didn't have it. They actually went and did the activity, and then we'll prompt them at the end. Finally, though, if for some reason they go and never have a bib, and they want to just deal with the fact that they're frustrated, then we put these banners all over the software, and they can just come in and they can deal with the instructions that have been sent out to them. They can submit it manually by looking themselves up. They can send a text to the text code. That was instructions that were sent out. So there's other ways that they can do the user submission if they don't want to set up a bib and a profile. So if for some reason they just want to track under pseudonym, they don't want to do bibs, they don't want to do all that, they can still use RaceJoy, they can still have cheers, they can still engage with people, they can still get their split alerts. And then when they go to the result submission, they have other ways to submit their result.
But there are two areas, the top part and under more, to get to the profile. So they can also get to the profile by clicking on their name at the top of the screen and under more. So there's a ton of ways to get to that bib number. So, and I see a lot of questions. We are actually planning on integrating with RunSignup's profile. So we'll have a unique profile that's with RunSignup and RaceJoy for users. So,
but when we do that, what we're having is that they can still have what we call a race pseudonym. So how they actually get raced and tracked is not tied to the registration profile name. So there's an extra layer that we have to have for privacy, and that's giving those users a layer of privacy for their tracking.
Yeah, and I see someone was talking about their Wi-Fi. Looks like their Wi-Fi took over the phone. So that's why just try to turn off your Wi-Fi before you start tracking and stuff.
Yeah, and we have that screen come up.
Yeah, we do have a prompt in the app, but sometimes people don't realize that, oh, I got to go turn it off, because what happens if you enter into if you have it set up to automatically detect Wi-Fi, you'll go into a zone that has Wi-Fi and it's going and trying to connect with that. And then you go out of that zone, then you disengage your tracking. So,
well, it depends.
It depends on your phone and how, because sometimes it'll quickly pick up and convert over. It just depends on your phone. Yeah. So it's easier and cleaner if you just turn it off.
Well, it's going to work better, especially if you're in a city that has good city Wi-Fi. It's still not going to be as accurate as a satellite. Any other questions that we want to socialize, Kevin?
Let's see. I think we're good.
Someone was asking where the pictures are from. They're actually, if you look on RunSignup's Facebook or Raise Choice Facebook wall, you'll see those. And where do they see the results on RunSignup? Go to.
My password. Anyways, yeah, you can just click right over to the wall from here too.
But the where do they see results on the? There's a result page on our. Or do
yeah,
on the Raceway Rocks page. Okay, so it doesn't seem like there's any other questions. And if you had some unique scenario that you encountered, feel free to reach out to us, because there's always, you know, case scenarios that maybe we're not aware of with the technology. We'd love to hear about it. So, and then there's, you know, we can always dive deeper into it. Because this was great that so many of you understand exactly what people are supposed to be experiencing. So it's great to get that feedback and see if there's, you know, areas that we need to address. So we are changing things. Our focus is that participant list to make it a little bit easier for people to send cheers from that list and go to people to see them on the map from that. So that's one of our main priorities, as well as that profile integration. And then some other tweaks along the way. So if you have any questions, and again, we'll be making that announcement on who, we just need to dive into the data a little bit more, and then we'll make an announcement on who are the top finishers.
Yeah, that was kind of an interesting question that came up today about, like, so the experience that most of the people had on this screen was normally the participant experience because they signed up to be a participant. There is a very different experience if you're a true spectator. So in this case, you guys were participants tracking other participants, which is great. And I'll go back, and that was another question, and talk about that. But, you know, again, the participant map view is going to look like this. It's going to show your data as you're going through the different milestones and your split data and all that as you actually start and race. So this view is really more of like a running view. Really important to have that when you have off-course alerts and you're actually doing true courses. You can see the actual course where you are. And so this is your true participant map view. Now, for spectators, this looks very different, and the view is much more designed around the spectator, and there'll be quick actions, and you'll see that on there to go send cheers and things like that. So for you guys, you know, having to kind of click back out to go send a cheer to somebody, that's because you really were set up as a participant. The other thing that kind of was brought up was the, what was the other thing? Oh, yeah. So again, as a participant, I'm really set up as a participant, but, you know, I want to track other people. So again, let's go back through that scenario. So I'm all set up, I'm going to be tracked, I'm going to do activities, but you know what? I really want to track other people. So you have this quick shortcut here for my participants. You'll also find it in different areas of the app. Normally, prior to the race, it would be under the phone track circle also. And then you have this quick shortcut here. There's another shortcut. So there's a couple different ways to do it. We got shortcut, and then also we have it under these circles. But yeah, so basically anytime you want to add somebody that you want to track, You just come in and say, you know, I want to track Gail, search for them, and then add them to your list. And then now you'll be getting alerts. You'll get near me alerts. You'll get alerts, their notifications, and so forth. And so that's the shortcut to add other participants when you're a participant.
So I did want to point out that, you know, RaiseJoy, you can offer RaiseJoy in addition to other user submitted areas, so, or opportunities. So meaning that you can say, I'm offering you RaiseJoy for this virtual experience so people can track you. I'm going to add to your experience with these audio, you know, these custom audio experiences and things. And the results is just one aspect of it. So they're getting a lot of different, you know, experiences beyond just results. If you want to open it up to other things that they can use their Strava and Garmin. We just did a blog yesterday about that they could submit their results using different tools. They can, whatever they want to use, they can link, you can add links to your site. You can offer all different ways for them to submit their results. And RaiseJoy is just one of them because they can choose to use these other devices to track their time or whatever, and they could submit the results. They can override RaiseJoy's results if they want to. It's just one way to submit them. And then RaiseJoy just gives you that, it's your opportunity to give them kind of an interactive experience. So it's just, that's just one of the features. And it's flexible.
Yeah.
So.
And by the way, on my social circle, I only had the RaiseJoy stuff, but normally when you set up your event, you're gonna have your wall, you're gonna have your Twitter feed. So all that's gonna be very race specific in here into the social. And so that's the integration to your actual Twitter feed and your actual race Facebook wall. And again, users can click right there, they can share, and they can go right to your wall and add photos and so forth. So again, really, it's just all set up in terms of you setting up your connections to your social media, and that will show under the social circle.
Okay, any final questions, Kevin?
Yeah, a couple questions on like the pre-recorded messaging. Maybe just go over like kind of the length of that and maybe the file format for some of those types of messaging that they kind of heard when they were running today.
Yeah, so what you heard were what we call pre-recorded custom audio. So those require 10 days to process. So if you do those, you need to add those 10 days prior, and you work with your certified timer. You can do those on your own and have them load it for you, or they could teach you how to do it. There is a way for you to type, use one of James is showing you where we're selecting a pre-recorded sound file that we have in inventory called, you know, Born in the USA, and then you can do a text to audio and combine the two. So this is one where you don't have to pre-record it and upload an MP3 file. You don't need the 10 days, but you're creating a combined audio cheer, and he's
Happy 4th from RunSignup.
So, you know, it will play that text to speech audio file will play whatever whatever the voices that they have on their phone set up for. So, so you can do, you know, we have, if you go and look around, there's a lot of different clips, and we can always add more.
Let's get a beer at the finish.
So, yeah, so you can get really creative with this, or you can do your own. What you heard today were audio files. Now we suggest that they be about 10 to 20 seconds, no more than 30 seconds, no long music, no, you know, I mean, we could do little music clips like we did that you heard. We have music clips in here that you can choose from, but they need to be little short ones, nothing that's going to, what we don't want to do is trip any kind of copyright issues. It shouldn't be for the purpose of trying to sell something. It's more of just to add to the experience and maybe short. So, and then, but again, you can also, you can create, we've had some very, very clever ones. Like what was the one that was, oh, Turn Around Bright Eyes, that song that, and someone used that as part of their telling people it's time to turn around on the course. And they, blended it with saying, all right, people, let's turn around. So that you can definitely get very clever with those. And
Yeah, so again, the audio is based on milestones. And so you set up the different milestones. If you're doing a traditional course, you're just putting points along the course and you're having these play at those points. If you're doing a race anywhere, then you're setting up those milestones. Again, they're distance-based. And so as you saw today, we set up arbitrary points every half mile.
yeah. And one thing to point to is that you really don't want long music files because people are already playing music and you just, then they're like, well, if I wanted that, I'd play that, so we just want to be careful that we're thinking about their experience. So, okay, great.
Anything else, Kevin?
I think we got some really great questions, and definitely get the race directors out here. If you could get with your certified timers, they're happy to help you with any of your questions and get any kind of custom setups and so forth. They've been trained on RaceJoy and they know the technology, so definitely get with them on your questions. And then the timers, if you have any questions, you know where to go.
So again, just kind of looking back over the questions before we close out here today. Again, remember the stuff that we talked about at the beginning. Again, there are settings if you want to involve approval process and kind of have that approval process on your results, you can absolutely do that. So there's a level of management that would need to be done. At the end of the day, everything that's actually out there is really under your timer or your race director's control. You can edit and manage all this data. So again, as a race director or timer, you have complete access to change this data and fix this data. So again, this is your data. So if you really want to kind of remove a record or do whatever, you can do all that on the RunSignup result platform. That's complete capability that's provided to you. RaceJoy is only going to display the data that we see there. So if, for instance, you got that duplicate bid situation that we talked about earlier, and you correct that situation, then immediately whatever you've done here on the platform will be rendered and shown in RaceJoy. RaceJoy is just looking at this as a source, the true source of the data.
Great. Well, thank you, everybody, and we hope you enjoy the rest of the symposium. We appreciate your time and for trying out RaceJoy. So.
Thank you so much.
Bye.